When you make a mistake, how can you talk about it in English? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to teach you 5 common English idioms that you can use to talk about your mistakes. So, let's get started. There are a lot of phrases, idioms that we can use in English to talk about mistakes that we make, but they're not all exactly the same, right? Some of them might be very similar, but they might be used in different ways. What are the different ones we could use to talk about mistakes, and how are they used? Well, that's what we're going to focus on now. So, what we're going to do is go through a few of these. We're going to talk about dropping the ball, blowing it, screwing up, shooting yourself in the foot, missing the boat, okay? And again, these are all slightly different in the way that they're used. Some of these have exactly the same meaning, but maybe used just a little bit differently. So we could say nuance to all of them, okay? So why don't we start with drop the ball. Now, I think we could say this probably comes from sports. To drop the ball is when you're not supposed to do that and you do it by accident. American football, it could be from that. I'm actually not sure which sport it's originally from, if it's American football or baseball, but often to drop the ball is not something you want to do, right? But how do we use this? Well, it means to make a totally maybe unplanned error, a mistake that mistakes generally are unplanned, of course, but a mistake that was due to complete absent-mindedness, or maybe something we didn't prepare enough for, right? We just weren't quite ready for this to happen, and we failed, so we could say we dropped the ball. Now, this could be that you forgot something that was very important, and maybe that's as simple as not setting your alarm at the right time and then not showing up to something that you were supposed to be at. Then you would say, when you're apologizing, I dropped the ball. So you might say something like this: I'm so sorry I wasn't there at 8 o'clock like I said I would be. I totally dropped the ball. And then if you want to make an excuse, you could say, I accidentally set my alarm to 7:30 p.m. instead of 7:30 a.m. Again, I'm really sorry I dropped the ball. I'm not telling you to make excuses. I'm just saying that might be the reason that you did this. You really dropped the ball. And, well, you didn't do enough to make sure that you got up on time. But we could say something more professionally, like the customer service department really dropped the ball by ignoring one of their most loyal customers for almost a week. Maybe they have a bunch of issues they're dealing with and they get a request from a very loyal customer. The customer service department, they don't realize that this is someone they should really be prioritizing. Their loyalty is very important. They have them in a queue and they're just dealing with them one by one, and then this customer gets upset and leaves. Okay, well, maybe that's a big deal and they dropped the ball, okay? So that's generally how we use drop the ball. Now we have one which is very similar, and that one is to blow it. Now this one might be unique in a couple of senses. Number one, generally for drop the ball, it's not something that's happening right now. So in other words, we would usually say, don't drop the ball, or I hope you don't drop the ball, or you dropped the ball, or sorry, I dropped the ball, right? But we wouldn't say you are dropping the ball. Probably. It's not usually used in this ongoing sense, right? But if someone says, you're kind of blowing it here, then, well, that's a natural way to use it. So this one can be used to talk about an ongoing blunder or mistake, right? If I wasn't able to explain this very well, someone might whisper in my ear. Kathy might come over and say, hey, you're really blowing it with this explanation. Maybe try again, or you must not have prepared for this one, right? You are blowing it. I'm really blowing it here. So this might be when you're speaking in front of others. This might be when you're doing something live and it's not going very well. You're kind of blowing it. And there, you probably wouldn't say you are dropping the ball, right? So the past tense of this would be BLEW, and then ing would be if it's an ongoing thing. I was so close to acing the presentation, but I blew it at the last minute. I blew it at the last minute. Now, if you say this to criticize someone, it's pretty blunt. It's a pretty harsh thing to say. So you would say it when you want to be brutally honest with someone. Listen, your presentation was good until the last 30 seconds, and then you really blew it. That means you made a big mistake, some blunder, something happened. And in that way, it's very similar in meaning to drop the ball, except I think it's more immediate. It's more in the moment. It's more about the situation that you're in. Could you say, I'm sorry, I blew it. I didn't get up on time because I accidentally set my alarm to 7:30 p.m. instead of a.m.? Yeah, I think you could say that too. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, it's a little bit more in the moment, okay? Overall, same meaning. I had the chance to, let's say someone likes somebody, ask her out on a date, but I blew it because I got nervous. Okay, so there you blew your chance, someone might say. You blew your chance to ask him or her out. You like someone, you want to ask them out. So to blow your chance is a way to use this that drop the ball really can't be used in. We can't really use drop the ball this way. You drop the ball, your chance, I mean, not so much, right? But if you blew your chance, it means here is an opportunity coming up. You're moving toward the opportunity, and then you don't capitalize on that opportunity. And so it doesn't go according to what you wanted or according to plan. And now you may not have that chance anymore in the future, so you blew it. You often hear people say, I blew my one chance to have maybe a good relationship because, and then say what you did that caused that relationship to fail. You had a good one going, and then you blew it because of a bad habit, because of how you're emotionally unavailable or something like that. You blew it. So it can be this ongoing thing as well. This one thing is the issue, but it's something maybe you did over a period of time. So it can be used in a lot of different ways, and it is, I think, very, very flexible. Okay? Next, screw up. Screw up. Now, again, we have a very similar meaning with screw up. The next one we're going to talk about, I think, is quite different. But this one, while it is the same, has some nuance to it. I'll give you an example first. I would have got an A on the exam if I hadn't screwed up on the last question. Now, could you say drop the ball on the last question? I think so. Could you say if you hadn't blown it on the last question? I think so. But this one specifically is about a mistake that just happens at that time. Often when we use you blew it, right, or you dropped the ball, this is about a larger situation that we're in, whereas screwing up is this one individual thing that happens. There's one question and you missed it, right? Again, you can use the others this way, but this one tends to focus on that one instant, not this ongoing thing, like you're blowing it. We probably wouldn't say you're screwing up, you're screwing up. Usually not. You screwed up right there in that one instant, that one moment. You screwed up. You made a mistake right there at that time, at a critical moment, right? Sorry, everyone. I really screwed up dinner. I forgot to set a timer. Some person really has a problem with time, setting alarms, right? I forgot to set a timer on the roast. Now it's a burned disaster, right? We have to go out to a restaurant now. You were cooking dinner, and then at the critical moment when you were supposed to take it out of the oven, you didn't. It stayed in for an hour too long because you were on the phone, and now it's ruined, and now you can't eat it because it's burned. So you have to go out to eat at a restaurant, right? You screwed up. But the interesting thing here is that we can say you screwed what up? And this is a great way to use screw up. So I screwed my knee up. Now, we wouldn't say I blew my knee up. We wouldn't say I dropped my knee up, dropped the ball on my knee up, or anything like that. I don't know what that means. I screwed something up is a really useful and unique way to use screw up because you can talk about what it is, right? So I was running on some hills and I accidentally stepped on something the wrong way and I screwed my knee up. So I injured myself, right? So you really screwed up on something, or you really screwed that up. So we often insert here the thing in the middle. I screwed this thing, put it here, up. I screwed that live stream up. Ugh, I feel bad about that, right? Now, you could add it after. You could say I really screwed up on that live stream or in that live stream. That would be okay to say. But the useful structural thing here is that we can put stuff in the middle between screwed and up, which I think is pretty interesting. So all of these, again, very similar. Drop the ball, to blow it, right? To screw up. But each has this little nuance that we can use them sort of in slightly different ways. Now, you've probably heard someone being a screw up, and that's okay too. Except if it's that, we would say probably F instead of screw there, right? I really effed up instead of screwed up, okay? So that's common. Basically used in the same way as screw. Okay, moving on. We have two more to cover here. To shoot yourself in the foot. Okay, now this one's probably pretty obvious in meaning, right? All you have to do is imagine you taking a gun and shooting yourself in the foot. So it's a particular type of mistake where it's what we could call an unforced mistake. In other words, no one is causing you to do it. It's not anyone else's fault. You are damaging something that you were trying to do because of you. It's your fault, no one else's, right? And it could be an instant thing, right? But probably not, at least not used that often. You wouldn't usually say that you shot yourself in the foot by missing the last question on the exam. There, you would probably just say, I screwed up the last question, a mistake that happened in that moment, a specific thing. To shoot yourself in the foot more broadly is usually to do something, maybe out of stupidity, maybe out of ignorance, maybe out of bad planning, to do something which then hurts something that you're trying to accomplish. So you're trying to build a relationship with someone or a friendship with someone, and then you do something that completely eliminates the possibility of you being friends with them. I really shot myself in the foot there, right? Or you're working on a deal, a business deal, and you accidentally share some information you're not supposed to share, and they find out about that, and then they don't trust you anymore, and so they call it off. Okay, well, again, you shot yourself in the foot because you did something that has caused you to now basically fail at whatever you were trying to do. You're not able to do what you wanted to do now, right? And so it's usually this part of this bigger process. It's not just this in-the-moment thing like screw up, right? It's part of a larger group of things that you're trying to do or a larger goal. So I was trying to impress my boss with my ideas, but I ended up shooting myself in the foot by proposing something that had already been shot down the week before. I didn't read the meeting notes for the meeting that happened last week, which I was supposed to do, and someone proposed this idea that they thought was genius, and then my boss said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No. And then the next week, I said, hey, I've got a great idea, and I say the same thing. So I'm trying to impress my boss, but now I look like an idiot for two reasons. Number one, because I've suggested something that my boss thinks is dumb, and number two, because I didn't review last week's meeting notes like I was supposed to, and if I had done that, I would have known not to say this thing. So I've really shot myself in the foot, right? They sort of shot themselves in the foot when they decided to set bonus targets that didn't actually incentivize better quality work. So a company maybe sets goals, they incentivize people with bonuses to make them work harder or do more or whatever. But then the company shot themselves in the foot because they're actually not incentivizing higher quality work. Maybe they're just incentivizing getting more stuff done, right? If the bonus is you did 100 things, wow, but quality is not important, then they're not incentivizing quality, they're incentivizing quantity, so they shot themselves in the foot by making a bad bonus policy, okay? Pretty simple, I think, right? Now let's look at our last one here. Moving right along, the last one is miss the boat. Now, to miss the boat is usually related to opportunities. This is usually where timing is critical. And you can kind of picture it, right? If there's a boat that goes by, have you ever seen those videos where there's a ferry or something, and then it's continually going by these docks, and each dock has a mailbox on it, and there's usually a teenager whose job it is to jump off the boat with the mail, put the mail in the mailbox, and then run back and jump on the boat before it goes by, right? I don't know if you've seen those videos. I don't know why they're doing that, but I've seen it. Well, if they weren't able to jump back on the boat, then they missed the boat, right? And we say this when we talk about getting on usually public transportation. Damn, I missed my train. I missed it, right? I missed the boat. It already left. It's gone now. So now you have to wait for the next one. So we can imagine what that would be in terms of mistakes. That would be when you should have taken advantage of something at a critical time and you did not. Or you're supposed to do this now, you didn't do it. Or you should have done it last week, you didn't do it last week, and because of that, now you've missed a major opportunity. So let's say most people missed the boat on crypto. There were some people who invested very early on in crypto, and they made tons of money. But what happened was it went up very quickly, and that's when most people started investing in crypto. Oh, look at this crypto thing. So then people were investing their money, but it had already plateaued, and then it crashed. So most people missed the boat on crypto. Often we add on there when we talk about the topic, okay? I was about to send my resume, then I saw that they had already hired someone for the position. So I missed the boat. I missed the boat means I missed that opportunity, right? I'm not going to get this job because the position has already been filled. I missed the boat. Very simple, okay? So we have talked about a few hopefully useful and interesting idioms for mistakes. We talked about miss the boat. We talked about shoot yourself in the foot. We talked about drop the ball. We talked about screw up. Oops, I'm missing a C there. Honestly, fuck up there as well. And that's probably more common, right? We talked about, oops, what was the other one? Right, the last one, to blow it. And how each of these has a similar meaning broadly, but how there are nuances for all of them. What I recommend you do now is do a bit of a deep dive. Find more examples if you want to use ChatGPT, if you want to use the free dictionary, whatever. Find more examples and then try to make your own examples, because only by making your own examples can you really make them stick. If you have any questions, let me know, okay? Share your examples with me. I would love to take a look. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button or follow and subscribe. And also, get a free course. That is a short course, but I think a useful one about mastering natural English conversations. That is also in the links in the description.